Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another TeaTalks podcast.
In today's video, we'll be talking about our experiences with interviews.
Check out our Instagram for exclusive content.
And please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
Now, on to the podcast. So, as you heard in our intro, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about our experiences with interviews on the TeaTalks channel. First of all, TeaTalks, we have made a lot of videos. We're on season 3 right now. We've made a lot of interviews, and it's my favorite playlist. And I totally just took that from Callum. Interviews are the best. And if anybody knows, if you've ever been in an interview, the first interview's the worst. Whenever you have your first interview, Callum and I were so anxious. Callum, how anxious were you on the first interview? I remember I had to make up questions, and I was so like, this is going to go horrible. We should just not do this. Callum, how nervous were you for that first interview?
I was definitely nervous beforehand. Before the interview, it was our first interview. And but the person that we were interviewing, I have talked to before we did the interview. So I have talked to him before, but this was like the first kind of like interview with him, of course. So I was definitely nervous. This was our first interview. I mean, even if I've been chatting with someone for weeks now on, just like through email or through Instagram, however we contact them, and just trying to set up the interview, even beforehand, even though I've been talking to them for so long, I'm still a little bit nervous. And I'm sure Jake, he really got all the zesty stuff organized and all of that. And we can be you might be so nervous before your first interview, and then when it comes around, you just sit back, relax, and it really is just a great time. I like to do our interviews the favorite. I mean, I've reached out to 50, 60, 70, around that many people for interviews, and we've gotten 7 interviews or 6 interviews, 6 interviews, but the playlist has 7 videos. You'll have to go check out why, because me and Jake interviewed each other. So that was a interview. And, that really just, we did do a lot of interviews. Interviews are the best. And, when someone gets back to you, it's not like you can be like, yeah, so tomorrow, we were thinking like tomorrow we could do the interview. Is that good with you? That's not how you do it. Normally I reach out to them and I'm like, maybe in a week, maybe in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. With Ronald Murphy Jr., our newest one, we originally, when I first reached out to him, was about 2 months ago. Not even joking, maybe like a month and a half ago. So it was a good like 5-6 weeks ago. And then, of course, we planned it for like 2 weeks because it was still on break of TeaTalks. And then, of course, it got pushed back a little bit more. So that it just, you've always got to be flexible with interviews and all that other stuff. And me and Jake have both been getting very comfortable with the interviews. If you watch all of our interviews in order, you can definitely see the progression from us and how we've gotten more comfortable, how we've gotten better questions. I remember on the Daniel Vitalis interview, I didn't have any questions before. None. I had to think of some on the dot. Not even joking. And Jake, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so I was going to add to Callum. Right now, I have my telephone right next to me, and I'm looking at it. We've got 7 videos in our playlist, but we've actually done 8 interviews because we did our farming interview with Todd Ford, who happens to be my cousin. So it's very important for communication, and interviews are something that you learn about, right? And I really like it how Callum added, we learned over time. And you get more comfortable as you do more interviews and as you learn about it, right? Whenever I interviewed Daniel Vitalis, our first ever episode, Callum and I, it was a super fun episode. It was super interesting. We learned a lot. And one thing that I found most important from that interview is you want to have very good communication skills. And it doesn't matter if Callum talked to Daniel before this interview, right? I'd never met Daniel. I was coming right out. I was like, I have no idea. I, of course, watched his Wild Fed, but I never talked to him face to face, right? And that's a trouble thing. If you never talk to someone face to face and you don't have the confidence, that's not good. That's why preparation is very important. Cam and I always come up with our questions. I have an entire notepad right here that I put down all my questions. I make sure that I've got every single thing that I want to say on this notepad. I say, you know what? This is the question I'm going to ask. This is what we're going to talk about. This is how long it's going to be. I'm very organized. That's what I like to do. But everyone has a different interview style. Uh, Interviews are very important to learn about somebody else. Definitely my favorite interview. It has to be the Ronald Murphy Jr. We just did that a week ago. It was the best. We got to super relax. We got to enjoy ourselves. We got to really have fun with it and talk about a lot of different things that we had in mind. And I learned something new about Bigfoot and mythological creatures. I did a bunch of research afterwards and it was awesome. Callum, what has been your favorite interview so far and what have you learned most?
I always try to think about that. I always try to think, what is my favorite interview? And I don't, I really do like them all. I really do. I really like them all. They're all different. That's the thing. They're not all the same. They're not all similar. They're all different. And, another reason why that is because I somehow managed to get a different hairstyle every episode. If you go back, you can see that. So that's one way that they're different. We also shoot in different times of the day. We also talk to different people. So, a lot of stuff is different, but the most important thing about how they're different is the questions that are asked. If you think, okay, I'm going to think of 6 questions and then ask these every interview, it's really going to get boring really quickly. Then you're going to be like, oh, yes, my favorite podcaster finally dropped. They're like, I hope that they finally ask different questions. They're like, what's your name? What's your favorite color? Where do you, what has been your favorite goal accomplished in life? You can ask similar questions. Of course, when we interview people now, something that we've been doing is once we start, we're like, so tell us about yourself. So then we don't have to make questions like asking different specific things about this person. Instead, we could just be like, tell us about yourself, and they'll just give you a quick summary about themselves. And I really do like them all. I really, if I had to pick top like 3, that would be really tricky, because some, they all were really good. They were all had a really good vibe to them, and it was just really fun. Yeah, Ronald Murphy Jr., that we filmed that about a week ago from recording right now, and that one was really actually 2 weeks ago when this drops, exactly. But see, that one was really good. That one was really laid back. He was very interesting. He gave great advice, and he was just a really cool person. And it'd be he that's got to be one of my favorites. And Daniel Vitalis, also a great one. He really went into depth about all these different things. One little question, he takes it this far, and you can learn everything. So if you're really starting to get into like the hunting, the fishing, the foraging, or even starting a TV show, you should definitely watch that, because you can learn everything. Daniel talks about everything and his experience with everything. So it was really good, and we had a lot of time with that one too. So that's why it was like an hour and 4 minutes long. And Jake Storial was also very laid back. Saint Arnaud, also laid back. Tommy Coughlin, also laid back. Todd Ford, also laid back. James Fayelle, they're all also laid back, but they're all great. I might be missing a few. Am I? I don't think so. But of course, when we get in 5 years from now, it's gonna be all over my walls of everyone's name. That's gonna be starting. I get a Sharpie, write everyone's name. Boom. That'd be kind of cool. But so we're constantly reaching out to people. You might really like our series of playlists too, or of our interviews too. And we do too, of course. And we're constantly working on that. We're constantly reaching out to people. I'm thinking you reach out to 50 people. You're like, okay, who else? It's kind of hard to think, but that's why sometimes randomly in my day, I don't know, I could be out cross country skiing, and I'll be like, this person would be cool to interview. And then before I forget, I just go out and interview them, or ask for an interview, and it might take a few days or weeks for them to reply, but you always have hope, and that's the most important. You keep trying, you keep persevering, and you will get there.
Yeah, I can completely agree with Callum, and I really like how you said cross country skiing. And cross country skiing, not very common, right? It's not that common, and that's the thing, right? Wiffle ball, I had no idea that it was a professional sport until we did that interview, right? And with Tommy Coughlin, super interesting stuff. You learn a lot with interviewing people, and also, again, I didn't know much about wiffle ball. I didn't know much about making music with Saint Arnaud. I didn't know a lot of things. And that's why you have to keep trying. Like Callum said, I might ask them, they might respond 10 weeks later. You want to keep trying. You want to say, hey, are you able to interview? Hey, are you able to interview? You have to keep trying. You can't ever give up because if you have your heart set on something, and that's why a lot of these people that we've interviewed, they have a specific thing that they do in life, right? A wiffle ball player, he wanted to play wiffle ball since he was a young age, right, Tommy? But he kept going and kept playing, and he had fun with it, right? And that's what you have to do to enjoy yourself. But interviewing someone is just as hard as being interviewed. And if you've ever been interviewed before, you can probably agree. Calum and I are sometimes interviewed by our guests. They sometimes ask a question to us, and we have to think about it on the spot. That's what you have to do when you're interviewed, and you have to think about. But you also have to have a good answer. You cannot say, well, maybe this. You can't. I keep saying that. That kind of just makes me look bad, but that's true, right? You cannot keep doing that. Just talking, of course, it's Cal and I come up with this on the spot, but with interviews, we have to come up with these questions, and they have to be good questions. If we're interviewing somebody that's huge, everybody's that we interviewed, we have to come up with amazing questions, and we have to learn something very well, right? And we have to do some research, right? Callum, have you ever done any research on the people that we've talked with? I bet you have. Just wait for you to unmute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, plenty of times. Sometimes even like during the interview, I'll look up different things. Like I'll have this answer and or this question that I had originally, but I'll be like, I want to check this. I need to check this before I ask it. Maybe I'll be like, this could not be accurate, so I might want to check it before I ask it. And I'll be like, Tommy Coughlin.
I can completely agree with. We had a baseball interview with a baseball podcaster, and it was interesting. I don't know anything about baseball. I personally don't watch baseball. I don't know anything about baseball. The only team that I know is the Orioles and the Red Sox because they're big talk, right? And also it's Calum's bed sheets, the Orioles. But that's the thing. It's I don't know anything about baseball. We interviewed and I learned so much. During it, I had to research because I was like, wait, what is my favorite team? Oh, let's just not say because you got to think of it on the spot. If you ask me who my favorite soccer team was, I'd get that fast. I'm not going to say because that's also a big controversial subject. That's the thing with sports teams, right? And with interviews, you have to make sure to stay in line and you have to make sure that during the interview you don't get too out of hand. And you also have to agree with the guest speaker that you're talking with. You don't have to say, okay, yeah, we fully agree on this, but you can't just be like, okay, we're going to have an argument interview. If you get what I'm saying, you have to know that person fairly well, but usually Calm or I, one of us knows the person. James Fayal, CEO of Zest Tea, huge, amazing guy. He's awesome, huge company. That was an amazing sponsorship. But we had to do a lot of research. I had no idea that he was in the Forbes 30 under 30. Super interesting, right? I wouldn't have known that. Also, like, who ends up in their life interviewing a big company CEO, right? Who does that? Have you ever talked with anybody that's done that? No, right? And it's huge. That's why you have to get out there and say, hey, I want to talk with you. Callum said, how many? Yeah, it's like 70 people. Yeah, if you could tell me some of those people, because That's huge. You're getting out there, Callum. You're doing this. Who are some of the people, and what inspired you to go out there and ask all these people?
Yeah, I mean, most of them, yeah, I do know, or I do appreciate, like Saint Arnaud. I really appreciated his music. I thought that some of his songs were pretty good. So I was like, you know, we started JCT Talks. I guess I should reach out to him, get an interview. With Jake Storiel, I really liked the YouTube channel that he had, John Boy, and I liked watching a lot of his videos. And that's why I reached out. I was like, oh, I remember Jake, that's what his name was. So I looked him up on Instagram. I sent him that Tommy Coughlin. I watched MLW. Sent him in. He got back. Ronald Murphy Jr. He was also in a TV show that I was watching one day, and he stuck out to me because Murphy is his last name, and my middle name is Murphy. So he stuck out to me. So I reached out to him. He got back. It's all about that's kind of how I got those interviews. I have also reached out to a lot of other people, and a lot of these other people that I've reached out to actually, so they might have millions of followers, and there's no way that they're getting back to you, but go for it anyway. You never know, they could. And I don't really expect most people to get back. I feel like if I like 70 people and we've had 7 interviews around that, that just shows that it takes a lot of hard work. You don't want to see, I think that if you're starting a podcast and you want to interview people, reach out to people that you really appreciate. Don't reach out to these big people who you want to get on so then you get all these views and become famous. Don't do that. That's not what you do. If you are really wanting to start a podcast, you start from the bottom and you work your way up. And I've only reached out to people who I appreciate, who I think I would want to talk to them. I would want to interview them. I don't reach out to this random person who I've never met, and I saw that they had a lot of followers. And I'm like, oh, let's get them on. I don't do that. Everyone who I ask for an interview is a reason. Whether it's their content, whether it's their music, whether it's their there's a lot of reasons. There would be a lot of reasons. But I like to reach out to those people because then it's a learning experience for me and for everyone else. And the other thing is, a lot of these people who I appreciate, they're not on any other interviews. I haven't found them on much other interviews. If you look up their name, they might not have any other interviews. So then it also helps other people who appreciate this person. They can look up that person and then find our interview. And then if they want to learn more about that person, they can just watch our interview and learn about that person, which I also really like doing, because if you interview these, like, I don't know, Elon Musk, he's probably been on thousands of interviews. He has been on thousands of interviews. Everyone knows Elon Musk. Everyone does. If we bring him on, it's going to be the same thing. We're just going to ask these normal questions. We're just going to be like, who really got you through life, maybe? Because we can't really think of any other questions. Maybe we'll be like, who got you through life? And then he says that, but then we're like, is that really an original question? Afterwards, we look it up. Boom, 100 interviews where he said that, So, I mean, if you are, so there's also that. And, there's just so much interviews with those people, and you could, but if you really do have a deep appreciation for them, go for it though still, because maybe you'll learn something that you haven't. Interviewing people isn't about other people and, other people and them getting, and other people learning about the stuff. It's also about you and you learning the stuff about them. I mean, a lot of other podcasts and stuff, they have interviews and the other person is like, whoa, really? That's actually really cool. I didn't know that. And so it's really just a learning experience for everyone.
Yeah, and I can completely agree. And I really like it to bring us kind of back to what we talked about in the beginning of this podcast, how you're saying it's a learning experience. Originally, when I interviewed Daniel Vitalis, I like it how Callum added how his haircut was different every time. This wasn't my first place for JCT Talks. I have a little ledge on this curtain, and I probably had about this much leg room. That's where I was interviewing, and I was like sitting like right next to this curtain. I've got a little ledge over here, and it was all cramped, and I did not have a good microphone. I have a Blue Yeti now, very high quality. I did not have this to start. I had to work my way to this. I started with bad audio, I'd say. Callum, would you agree? But this is an addition. You don't need the computer. You don't need a high quality microphone. You don't need any of the stuff. What Cam and I have, awesome headphones. You don't need a lot of these things to interview, right? Like you, all you need is a phone. That's what Cam and I decided with JCT Talks. Cam started with just a phone, and we've worked our way up. But you don't need a lot to interview somebody, and you can memorize questions. You should just understand how important it is to run a successful interview and how important it is to communicate. If you think of a conversation, think about your last conversation that you had. It's an interview, right? You go up to somebody, hey, what do you want for lunch? Oh, interview. You're asking questions, you're explaining. But also, you get a lot of different people. If you've lived at all and you've been outside at all, you've probably had a conversation with more than 10 people. In these 10 people, this is what I like to say: every single person's different, but they have different answers. Daniel really like to stretch out his answers, and some people we interviewed don't. They just like to say one sentence answers or two sentence. And then some people really like to stretch it out, right? That's things you're going to find. You're going to find people that like to change the subject or change the question or tweak it a little bit, right? Calum and I have found this a lot. And that's the thing. Whenever everyone's going to be different, everyone's going to have different questions. The question that we've asked every single interview, and I've always asked this one, it's how has COVID-19 affected you? Always a great question. We're in the midst of a pandemic right now. Why not ask it? And you figure out all these cool things. I mean, it's not good. COVID-19 is horrible, but it's you find out how people adapt. San Arno, he had to cancel his trips and his like shows, but he was able to start Tub Talks and start other forms of entertainment, right? And that's something Cal and I, we started JCT Talks because of the coronavirus, and which is really cool, right? That's something that we've been able to start because of this, and we've interviewed so many people, and interviewing is so important. That's gonna finish me up. Callum, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're so right. Yeah, I mean, we've really come a far way, a long way, from where we started 8 months ago. When you watch those videos back, 3 subscribers. We when we published our first video, we had 3 subscribers, and that was probably me, Jake, and one of our parents. you know. And now we're at like 83 subscribers, which is it's insane. And honestly, me and Jake have a great time filming these, have a great time uploading them, and we've been posting consistently every week for the past 8 months, which is it's very important to. If every time, once we almost missed a week, and this was back our one of like our fourth or fifth episode, but basically we almost missed that week, and we got the episode out at like 7. It was at like 7. It was like so close. It was almost fun, but it was like it was kind of weird because like Jake's editor like deleted the whole project, then he had to redo it. So yeah, it was a big process, but we got it. We managed to get it out, and that's why we've been premiering our videos now. Because back then, it's been learning. Because back then we would post them on the day, where now we premiere them, so then we know that's going to get out on the same time. So then we don't have any stress about getting it out at this exact time. And the other thing is that it's so much easier too. So we don't have to be up waiting. You're like, yes, it's 12. Publish, and instead we could just lay back and do something at 12 instead of be worrying about that. We could just do something at 12, or anything else. So it really just has been a big thing. Like, we've been learning different things. It's been 8 months, and you probably think, okay, you probably have your whole channel figured out by 2 months. It's not true. We're still learning stuff. We are still working on stuff. We're still learning stuff. I mean, I'm still trying to improve stuff all the time. It's constant. It takes a long time, and it'll take a few years until we can really just kind of ease back and just publish the content. But it really does, because if you have to, but if you like it, if you like to work hard, if you like to keep improving stuff and see how your channel goes, then it really is just the funnest thing.
yeah, like I said, you learn a lot, and I want you to take away from this episode. I want you to try hard, never give up, and take chances. You want to live your life to the fullest. You want to interview people that you think you never could, that you can. That's what Calum and I've been able to do. We never thought that we'd be able to interview all these big names, but we could, and it's awesome. And it's super exciting, and that is going to finish this up. And just take that away and just think about it in your mind. Thank you so much for watching today's JCT Talks episode. If you have not checked out last week's interview with Ronald Murphy Jr., please make sure to check that out right now. It's super fun interview and it's very interesting. Callum, would you like to talk about the JCT Talks social media?
Yep. Yeah, we got the Instagram, we got we got the Facebook group, yeah, and we got a lot of other stuff out there. A lot of those descriptions will be or a lot of those links will be in the description below. So if you want to go join them, just feel free to join them. And yeah, this has been a great episode. If you haven't, like Jake said, go check haven't checked out any of our interviews or Ronald Murphy Jr.'s interview, go check them out. Yeah, the playlist of interviews is a great playlist. And if you want to really learn about all these people, then please go check that out and give us a subscribe if you enjoyed this video.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.